Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Total Balance Life Ministries, Dev Campbell. Listen, this is the day that the Lord has made. We're going to rejoice and be glad in it. Uh, for some of you that have been sending emails and contacting through social media and have asked the questions that you asked concerning music ministry and foundation songwriting and all of that type of stuff. Listen, I told you all I was going to bring him, and he is here with us to embark upon us just some knowledge, some priceless information. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, please give it up for Mr. David Frasier. Everybody, David Frasier.
Hey, hey,
Listen.
glad to be with you, bro.
Hey man, look, I'm glad you're here. I told everybody, I said, listen, the man behind so many, just iconic songs that we've been worshiping to, we've been singing, we've been having feed us from a spiritual level over the years. I said, he's coming. I said he's coming. I had singers, musicians. I don't care if they played the banjo, the tambourine, the cowbell. I said, listen, he's going to pour into us. And again, you're here. So listen, everybody, make sure you got your snacks because this is going to be insightful. And I promise you, it will bless your life. It will bless your life. First and foremost, Mr. David Frasier, just give everybody a little bit as far as who you are. And I guess I would say your position when it comes to music ministry and in the kingdom.
Well, I don't really have a very profoundly deep response to that. I'm just as the lettering says at the bottom of my name. I'm Dave Frasier. That's all I got for you. I don't have a lot of titles per se. I'm just just a guy who fell in love with gospel music at a very young age, and started playing instruments in my local church, Bible Way Church in Brooklyn, New York, 261 Rochester Avenue.
Yeah.
Bishop Huey Rogers was my pastor back then, and his son Michael Rogers was just a larger than life kind of figure in my early life. He played the organ, he directed the choir, he played piano, very skilled songwriter. The Bible Way Radio Choir recorded maybe three albums on Savoy Records, and then one on John Daniel's Tomato record label, the same label that the Cloxus did his My Living in Vain, the same label that Timothy Wright put Moving in the Spirit on back in the days.
Yeah.
And Michael Rogers was like I said, larger than life, kind of phenomenal songwriter, arranger, phenomenal musician, player. And as a young man, I really just wanted to play the drums. And I noticed growing up that a lot of churches didn't have drum sets.
Okay.
So I began to take some lessons at a young age to learn how to play the piano. And I started playing the piano and the bass and at the same time. And then after playing the piano for a while, Michael Rogers on one Sunday asked me to come over to the organ and play. I never played an organ before. And he said, put your right hand on the bottom register, put your left hand on the top register, play your bass up on top, play your chords on the bottom register. Don't worry about the pedals. I'll show you that later. And from that time, and that was a Sunday morning. I think that, it was, 1,500 people in there, and I had never touched the organ before in my life, but he was
Wow. Wow.
he started me doing that. And then eventually becoming minister of music at a church at a very young age. And then really just, I wanted to be Michael Rogers. I wanted to write songs like he did. I wanted to direct the choir like he did. And I started to do that, at a very young age.
Yeah.
So, and a couple of the members of my church at that time, or one of the members of my church at that time was Hezekiah Walker. He was actually in the choir. People like Jeffrey White, very famous choir director, bass player, keyboard player, singer.
Yeah.
And we had great musicians. A guy played the piano there named Alan Cruz. Phenomenal pianist.
Yes.
Showed me a lot of things. Showed me how to kind of function as the second keyboard. Great drummers, great bass players. Our church was very musical because we were on TV, we were on radio. And because we wanted a recording choirs in Brooklyn, New York, you had Timothy Wright over at Washington Temple. Yeah. You had Institutional downtown, 170 Delphi Street, the Hitmakers. Yeah. And then you had, come across town, the Crown Heights, you ran into Bible Way.
Yeah.
And so we're very musical. Brooklyn's a very musical city and a churchy city.
Yeah.
And like I said, around 17, 18 years old, when I took over being minister of music at the church, I started writing songs and wrote the radio broadcast theme, wrote songs for Christmas plays and Easter plays and, different things like that. And then I got my first call to write a song for the second Hezekiah Walker Love Fellowship choir record, which was a project, the Oh Lord, We Praise You album.
Yes.
And I did a song in there called Your Name is Hallowed in This Place. We Praise You, O Lord, Kirby Brown lad. It was kind of like, just kind of like a filler track. It was one of my first, something that I missed the first album. Just, I don't know how I missed I'll Make It Out, but I missed that. So I did the Name is Hallowed in This Place on that one. And then they left Sweet Rain Records. The first two Love Fellowship records were on Sweet Rain, which was Andrew Ford's record company. Yes. And the third album was Focus on Glory on Benson.
Yes.
And that was the major record deal for a Brooklyn choir, major national, international distribution.
Yes.
Benson out of Nashville, Tennessee. The record was produced by one of the great producers at that time, did a lot of choir music and stuff. So I had I had 3 songs on the Focus on Glory album. A song called Only Trust Him, Get in the Move of God, another song, and I guess probably the song on that album was a song I did called Let the Glory.
Yeah.
Which, that was the song Monique is famous for saying the Crack Man song when they did it live.
Yeah, put it down, Crackhead, put it
down. So after the Focus on Glory record, then it was live in Canada, live in Toronto.
Yes.
And I did 2 songs on that record. That was Never Gonna Let You Go, and I can't think of the other song on the Canada record. But then after that was Atlanta, and I think Atlanta was kind of like the turning point for Bishop Hez as far as material and music. I did a song on that record, He's on Your Side, that B.B. Winans led.
Yes.
And they went back and did Let the Glory again on that recording. And in between that recording and the live in New York by Any Means. Well, no, I'm sorry. Live in New York by Any Means happened, which was I did Second Chance and How Much We Can Bear and I'll Fly Away on that record, which was, all of those were really, really popular. People still sing How Much We Can Bear now. People still sing A Second Chance was on that record too. That became somewhat of an anthem. But right after the Live in New York, there was a record called Shaking the House.
Mm-hmm.
Shaking the House had Fred Hammond, Yolanda Adams, and Bishop Hez.
Yes.
And that was a big record. That was I think that record went gold. I think the New York record went gold and the Shaking the House record went gold. And that's what you hear like now on the radio when people play How Much We Can Bear. The live version of it, they play the one from Shaking the House, which was just a kind of a shorter front end version, but a longer vamp. And they just kept modulating. So that was the Shaking the House record. After Shaking the House, Family Affair Records started, which
Mhm.
was a big franchise. Still selling in almost to platinum numbers. The first Family Affair record had "Power Belongs to God" as
Yes.
the lead-off single on that one, and that was pretty powerful. Kanye West recently put it on the Sunday Service Choir record.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Trying to think, I think I did another song on the first Family Affair, but I can't think right now. But the second Family Affair started out with "We Made It,"
Yes.
and that was, to tell Bin Laden we made it
Radio City. Radio City.
situation.
Yeah.
And that was the first song on the record, but the very last song on the second Family Affair record was "I Need You to Survive," and "I Need
Oh
You to
yeah.
Survive," of course, is national kind of a song. It's actually been in a couple of movies. It's Oprah Winfrey singing on her show, on her road trip show. It's been licensed to the Boston Pops, Republican National Convention, Democratic National Convention, uh, London Symphony Orchestra. It's in 5 languages. It's in a
Wow.
couple of hymn books. It's pretty major. So I do licenses on "I Need You to Survive" weekly,
Wow.
even now, and that was recorded in maybe 2002. We're in 2020.
Wow.
So that's 18 years ago, and I still do licenses on it daily.
Wow.
Um, it's actually in 3 hymn books now: the Baptist, Methodist, and Episcopal hymnals. So that was a pretty, that was kind of like the beginning. I had written other songs for other people: Karen Clark, Yolanda Adams, T.D. Jakes, uh, um, Jonathan Nelson, Colorado Mass, Joe Pace. A lot of different people, Wilmington Chester, even my national organization. I just thought about it. I should try to find it. I did some music on the first National Choir album, the second National Choir album that we
Okay.
did. And so from the Family Affair records, we the next record after that was the 2085 record, which I still kind of think personally that was the best sounding sonically from a choir perspective, as
Okay.
far as a studio record for a choir.
Yeah.
I still say there's no better choir record that you could buy that was recorded in a studio
Yeah.
sonically than 2085. 2085 had I wrote a song on there called "Do You Know Jesus" and "No Defeat." But that record had "Lift 'Em Up" on there. It had
Yes.
"Grateful" on there. It had, "On Time." It had some good, "Wonderful Is Your Name" was on there. It was some good. "Faithful Is Our God" was on that record too. It was a lot. It was a lot of good Sunday morning music on that record, and like I said, sonically, it was really, for me, it was the best Love Fellowship record, choir wise, sonically. I think after that was Sold Out. They did. Oh, I left out London. I'm sorry, Live in London. I left that out. I did a song on that record, "It Shall Come to Pass," on Live in London, and they redid "It Shall Come to Pass" on the Sold Out record again with Dave Hollister. Oh no, Sean McLemore. I'm sorry. And so after Sold Out, I think after Sold Out, pretty much that was the last Love Fellowship choir record. After that, they basically did the Azusa record, which had "Every Praise," and that was the Azusa was kind of like a conference that Bishop Walker had. He had a conference choir put together, and that was kind of like a special. It's almost like a specialty record, and it was also not on Sony; it was on E1.
Okay.
And "Every Praise," of course, we all know "Every Praise," the biggest radio song, biggest sales song in this decade.
Wow.
Recently got the Billboard Award for the Song of the Decade.
Wow.
For radio plays, sales, and radio, and also streams for gospel. So, but like in the interim, I was still writing for different people and doing different projects and different and things of that nature. But that's pretty, those songs, the Love Fellowship songs, a lot of people, don't know or didn't know that I wrote and stuff like that. So I kind of used that story. But in between all of the Love Fellowship records, I was doing Karen Clark Sheard, I was doing Yolanda Adams, I was doing Bishop Jakes, I was doing James Hall Worship and Praise, I was doing Jonathan Nelson, I was doing, like just spot songing with different people, building a catalog, and also making my own projects. I have 3 or 4 psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs records out right now. So, and I'm working on my 5th one, which is going to be called Grace Songs. I should have put on my Grace Songs T-shirt because I'm missing a chance to advertise my record. But hopefully, the Grace Songs, the fifth Psalms hymns will be out. And a lot of the music that I wrote on my Psalms hymns is what people were taking those songs and cutting them on their own. So like His Presence Is Here to Heal, which Bishop Jakes did, he took that off my first Psalms, Hymns, and Spiritual Songs record. Show Yourself Mighty, with Bishop Jameson recorded, that was off of my second Psalms, Hymns, and Spiritual Songs record. Favor, that Shirley Caesar recorded, is off my 3rd song. So it's like different people hear different songs and they just use them as demos almost, and they demo to different people. So, and then now God is doing something wonderful in me, recently redone by Brian Carn. That's his new single. On the late Troy Sneed's label. That was my last. Just 3 weeks ago, my last conversation with Troy Sneed was sealing the deal on God is doing something wonderful to me that Brian Carn recorded his first single. So
look, ladies,
so now we're here. So.
No, he just gave us just a taste of his foundation, of just some of the behind the scenes of the man that we have here today. So many songs that we've been singing down through the years that have blessed us, ministered to us. So many artists, and I believe a true Levite. Yes, his name is David Frasier, but his heart, just his connection spiritually with God, and just some of the folks that he surrounded himself with. You don't get there by happenstance. Nobody, rubbed a little log like, back in the day at the Apollo when it just happened. He put in work. And, it's funny that you mentioned, Michael Rogers, because oftentimes so many people, they don't let it be known or identify the fact of they were inspired by somebody. A lot of times, myself growing up in Jersey, you have folks who will get to a certain level wherein, they're skilled, they're anointed, and they're doing very well in music ministry. And you try to find out how they got their beginning, and they're not willing to tell you, like yourself, well, hey, I saw this guy, and to me, that guy was doing it. So I said, well, wow, if I could just, somewhat do what this guy is doing, then I'll be on my way. Or to even hear how you didn't start out as an organist. Your mindset was, hey, let me play drums, and you dabbled around with bass, and one day somebody looked, at you, Mr. Michael Rogers, and said, hey, come up here and do this. So it was a combination of things that started you on your way to become, who you are. And I think that's amazing, where, you were influenced by somebody who was great. And, look at what his music ministry was able to do. Inspire somebody who for all these years, is still putting out, wonderful ministry, music ministry, wherein, folks, like you said, I Need You to Survive. You're still doing licensing on that on a weekly basis. It's been translated, into many languages, and it's still ministering to people. It is still impactful. That's amazing. That's amazing. One of the
things, not to cut you off, but I should say there were. I think my whole perspective toward music was that I love the genre so much. There was so many people
Yes.
along the journey that have inspired me. I remember, people like Timothy Wright.
Yes.
You mentioned Jersey. It was a lot. I spent a lot of days in Jersey with James Perry and Colin Pope and Jeff Davis and Joe Wilson and other guys that lived there in that area, because that whole tri-state area, you're just a train ride away from being inspired. So like I said, Brooklyn had the Timothy Wrights, had the Butch Haywoods, the Alfred Whites, the Carl Williams Jr., the J.C. Whites, like I said, Jeffrey White, people like that. I love the music so much that anybody that was doing, and then I shouldn't leave out Long Island. A lot of my earlier playing days, I would be in Long Island with, Anthon White and Leroy Woodside and Benny Cummins, and played for Donnie McClurkin for many years, just in the name of having all of these different styles, because, Long Island had a style, Brooklyn had a style, the Bronx with John Peters and a couple other guys in the Bronx that were really, really influential. Bishop Barry McDaniel, other. Like I said, music for me was a learning experience always. Even now today, I listen to music not just to listen from an enjoyment standpoint. I listen to, it's a learning experience, because that's how you build what I call building files. So that I can be aware of what's going on, but still maintain my equilibrium and a style or a consistency as far as what I want to present. So everything that's going on, even now with the new Ricky Dillard record came out yesterday, listen to some of that, and I have a song on that record, Release, which is the first single that's on radio now that I wrote. Again, it's always learning, because that record has a lot of different colors. Yes. Because he's trying to reach a lot of different people in a lot of different places. And I like that kind of perspective to music. It's healthy. Absolutely. Not just to do one thing, or just one inspiration. I mean, even from a songwriting perspective, although I was enamored by Michael Rogers told me at a very early age, listen to this person, listen to DJ Rogers, listen to James Taylor, listen to Diane Warren and Burt Bacharach and Carol Bayer Sayer and David Foster. Listen to these guys, because they'll teach you how to make your stories musical, how to make what you want to say to people live longer. Yes. Because their approach is bigger, it's broader. Yes. So it's a lot of people, when you hear a Dave Frasier song or anything that I'm involved in music, it's so much that I pull from so many places and so much experiences and so many thoughts. So
yes, and that's important and insightful, that you don't just have one perspective, because you have so many greats out there that they've got a niche, and you can always take something from their niche, and when you add it to yours, like you said, with the flavors. Ricky Dillard, definitely one of the best choir masters, who has stood the test of time, and who has stayed faithful to that choir sound. But like you said, with the new project, I've been up listening to it, watching some of the videos, and it's giving you such a wide dynamic, where I don't believe that there's anybody that can listen to that project and say they were not touched. And that's so important, that people get out of thinking gospel is just one thing. Back in the day, you had people that thought gospel was just hymns, or gospel was just, tradition in this sense. But, quartet has brought in what's considered traditional, has brought in contemporary. You have so many avenues. And when you look at them, the color and the beauty of them, they reach so many people. and that's the purpose, to take this good news message, and you can literally reach people around the world, as with your music, and it's being translated, where it may not be the preached word, but it's the word of God in music, and it's still accomplishing what it needs to do, and that's sharing the love of Jesus Christ. We got a question from Mr. David Frasier. I'm gonna post it right here, and Dave, you can answer it. We have a young lady asking, saying, hello, thank you for doing the chat. What is your advice for young writers regarding pursuing publishing deals?
Well, great question. And how are you? I think you're one of my Instagram friends. Hey, how you doing? Uh, uh, well, I let me just explain a little bit about what publishing deals do. What a publisher does with a writer is basically they'll do one of two things. They'll either set up a situation where they exploit your music, and they'll take a percentage of that and pay you, and then take a percentage and keep. Or they will advance you a certain amount of money based on the works that you have done, and even work that you may prospectively do in the future. And if they advance you some money, they're going to recoup the advance and pay you a percentage that is relative to what they advance you. So in most cases, if they give you some front money, they may tell you on the back end that they're only going to pay you 20% or 15% or 25% of what you make after your deal recoups. And sometimes it's less than that, because right now the music business is not an industry now where they're giving out a lot of money. Years ago, they used to give out money and they give you better percentages. It was more of a partnership. But now everybody's pretty strapped for cash. So if they do a deal, they offer you the the opportunity to exploit your music on a large platform. Some cases they will advance you some money. I say to writers that I think initially get some music placed, some in some form. Get some artists to record your music, because the more you get placed, the more the opportunities will come. And then as far as the flexibility of negotiating what the deal is like, you can have more flexibility if you got more property to offer. But initially, I don't know if pursuing a publishing deal is the right thing to do initially. I definitely suggest play some music with some artists, build a catalog, build a repertoire, that then when you walk into Sony ATV or you walk into one of the major publishers, you can say, well, hey, I've done this, 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 and this, and this. And let me just say, once you do A, B, C, and D, the publishing deal offers are going to come in. So you can kind of navigate once you start getting music placed. Publishing deals sometimes can help you to get music placed, but right now in this world, social media world, the way it is, you can almost do SoundCloud to get, your music heard, get it placed. You can find out who's managing certain people, get music heard and placed, protect your music and stuff like that, and still get the same kind of results from a publishing deal as you would from an independent situation.
And thank you for that information, because so many people, they have an idea when it comes to publishing. They have an idea when it comes to record deals, and they may be in that mindset of, like you said, back in the day, you had labels that was willing to throw a lot of cash at you, and the way deals are structured nowadays is very, very different because of the internet. Like you said, SoundCloud and a lot of these other streaming entities, it really adjusted how your dealings with publishing companies or labels are dealt with. So that's great information.
And a lot of our gospel artists do have publishing deals. I'll as a sidebar.
Yes.
I would say maybe 75-80% of them have a publishing deal. Even people that don't write songs, if they got a choir and they're making a record, they'll make the writers of the songs give the artists certain percentages to satisfy any kind of advance that the record company gave the primary artist from a publishing perspective. So it's a lot of opportunities for a writer to get established. You just got to kind of be careful about what you give away. Be careful about what you're going to make coming back, and ask yourself some hard questions about how valuable your music is, how bad do you want to get it out, and you got to manage it.
Yeah. Okay. And one of the things that I received a question that I'm going to ask one of my sons. He's a drummer, a very phenomenal drummer. And when I told him that I would be talking to you, he wanted me to ask you, outside of all of the artists that you've already written for and worked with, who are some of the artists that are still on your list to collaborate and to work with?
Ooh, well, it's so many people that I haven't done music with. A couple of years ago, I had a real nice conversation with Brandy.
Wow.
I've always felt like she was a phenomenal. She's probably one of the best pound for pound singers.
Yeah.
Just singer from a texture standpoint, from a tone quality standpoint. I think every R&B person from Beyonce on out, Kiera Shear, they all in a lot of ways want to sound like Brandy.
Absolutely.
And I don't, not necessarily the first album, but like if you go into like Full Moon and some of the more mature records and stuff like that, Brandy really set the bar high from a tone perspective, from a texture perspective. A lot of songs that she records, she sings her own background, she sings her own double voice.
Yeah.
And really some really, really incredible stuff. So we actually talked about doing something at some point. It is not too. I would have probably wanted to do like something with Vanessa Bell Armstrong.
Okay.
If she was really still making records. It probably would have been great to do it like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, when she was like really, really making records. I think Vanessa Bell Armstrong from a voice perspective, and that's how I look at it. From I don't necessarily look at it from an opportunity to just kind of be connected with a name, because whoever you do your music with, that's the print.
Yes.
That's the blueprint for everybody else.
Yeah.
So I think Vanessa Bell Armstrong, she most of the things that she did, like from Nobody But Jesus or Faith That Conquers, or Her Amazing Grace, and some of the other things she did, that's the blueprint for singing being a solo.
Absolutely.
And I would have liked to give her a song that gave another blueprint. I did a song with Karen Clark Sheard on the Finally Karen album, Holy Thou Art Holy, but I really wanted to do something with the Clark sisters. In my early days, like you talk about being inspired, Twinkie Clark did an album called Power.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that album might have had maybe 6 songs on there. I'm being nice, maybe 5.
Okay.
Because every song was like 17 minutes long, 22 minutes long, 14 minutes long. Okay. It was like incredible. Like it was one album. It's called Elbenita Twinkie Clark Power. She's on the front. And it was a song, matter of fact, a song on the record. It was a song called Fix Me was on there. Oh My Soul, and Power was another tune on there. And Twinkie did all her own vocals, all her backgrounds, all the leads. She played all the keyboards. It's just an incredible, incredible album. And one day I always thought that I would get to do something with all of the sisters. Yes. But that would have been really, really, really nice to do. And it's still probably really nice to do at some point. Yeah. Something with the Clark. Not just because they have a biopic out, but I just feel like, the biopic didn't really touch on all of the music from Twinkie's side, that she gave them such a blueprint from a singing group perspective that nobody else. Twinkie is a phenomenal songwriter and musician.
Yes.
25 years ago, 30 years ago, I mean, you could, it's hard to describe. I was talking to my attorney a couple of weeks ago, and I was saying to him that when I first heard the Clark Sisters sing in Brooklyn, New York, they were doing a tour, and they sang at Pleasant Grove Baptist Church there on Fulton Street. Bishop Jameson was just a reverend, and Reverend Albert Jameson was the pastor. And it was I never forget, it was a snowy night, wintry night. And I wasn't sure I was going to go, but I said, let me just go ahead and go hear the Clark Sisters. I knew, and the crowd wasn't real strong. But anyway, Clark Sisters came, and their band was late. The band was late. So Twinkie got on the organ, and the sisters got on the microphone. Twinkie said, well, we're going to do a couple of songs a cappella. And they did O Come Emmanuel, the hymn, the Christmas hymn.
Yes.
And I still, to this day, haven't heard anything like that ever. It's just amazing, the tone quality, the musicality.
Yes.
So they did that. They did something else too, just Twinkie and the Girls. And you could just kind of hear, just how she played the organ, real churchy, real big. The girls, they all knew their places in the music. They could find their places in the music real well. Yeah, so yeah, that would be something I would really love to do. Definitely a Clark Sisters, something with the Clark Sisters.
Yeah, and you know what? And you mentioned Brandy, and so many people reference her as the vocal Bible. If you will, because just a lot of her technique when approaching a song, the way she phrases, her music.
She's the blueprint. She is the, if you listen to Beyonce, if you listen to, I don't know who's out here that's really a great soloist now, but when Whitney left, Brandy really,
oh yes,
just has a way of singing things, and I really want. I'm gonna work on it. I'm gonna keep my hope alive, and we're gonna get Brandy to sing something gospel in the coming days.
Well, listen, while you work on that, I'm putting in my dibs to play the cowbell. So whatever the song is on the track, don't let nobody take that. You don't need no keyboard or no computer for that. I want to play the cowbell because I just want to literally hear it live. But I mean, from a vocal point of view, like you said, with Whitney not being on the scene anymore, you can hear the influence of Brandy in a lot of other people's music. You can hear that, and again, Vanessa Bell. I mean, she's one of the pioneers, when you really think of soloing. I mean, kills you dead. I mean, she had power, range, clarity, delivery, technique. I mean, Vanessa Bell, I mean, definitely, iconic when it comes to that. I mean, you can still now go back and listen to any of her songs and you still feel it. I mean, she definitely gave us something that, again, was a blueprint, was a foundation for so many people to grow from. And one of the things I did want to ask you, when writing, when being inspired to write a song, do you ever feel like the song is or the record is going to be as big as it becomes when you're in the writing stage?
No, I don't. I think songs are big personally to the writer.
Mm-hmm.
I think any song that you write, it kind of does something to you personally, mm-hmm. and you feel good about it. To just show one person, it gives you that confidence to show one person, and then you never know. Like I for instance, I Need You to Survive. I always tell a story. When I showed Bishop Walker I Need You to Survive, I had just shown him We Made It, and he loved We Made It. And I began to play I Need You to Survive. I played the whole song through. He was like, I don't know about that. We've never sang a song that didn't have 3-part harmony. We never sang a song that was like that song.
Yes.
Never did it. And it was just one of those things I just felt strongly about. I said, hey, I've done it a few times at my church. We close our services with it. I just think it's going to be something good if y'all do it. You may want to test it out at your church. And that's what he did. He tested it out one day, called me up, said, come to the church. We tested the song out. We just wanted to just try it one day. We sang something else first, and then he said, I'm going to do that Survive song. We tried it out. And when I tell you, it was a wipeout at the New Love Fellowship, the Liberty Avenue location.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a total wipeout. Like, couldn't get no order or nothing. And he just kind of was like, I guess I better record it, at that point. Yeah. So, it was one of those kind of things. So, I always felt good about the song, and I think every writer should feel good about the song, whatever song that they're doing.
Yes.
Because that comes off to how it's presented. Nowadays, you don't really get to have that kind of one-on-one. I know my access to people is a little different, but if I was an up-and-coming writer, like I said, I would really try to do music for the people that I was closest to, because it's going to also give you an idea of how they respond to it, how they react to it, and it helps you understand what works. It was a blessing having a church at a young age that I could practice songwriting. Yes. I had a bishop that could say, I like that. Oh no, I don't like that other. Let's do that one you did. That other, and I heard something yesterday that was very, very powerful, listening to a Facebook Live with a couple of preachers. And Bishop Eric R. Figueroa in Brooklyn, New York said, criticism improves the quality of your product.
Yes.
Criticism improves the quality of your product. And I thought about that thing, and that's true. I grew up in an era where people would just tell you, you don't got it. Sit down. You can go back and work on that. Or that's not good. Or that don't sound right. And they weren't offended by that. I wasn't offended by that. I, for a long time, was told that I would never write songs. I would never play well. I would never be successful at a song from people that were successful.
Wow.
And I still had to kind of like listen, take what was said, and keep working.
Yes.
And see, I think, if there was any caveat to anything that negative that happens is, you have to be able to be thick-skinned enough to take criticism, because criticism improves the quality of what you do. So later on, and I'll just show you how it happens. Later on, the same people that told me I would not came back and said, would you please?
Wow.
So, you have to, and I think but for me, it was more like it was a learning experience, because like I said, when I was coming along, I had people to say, don't do it this way, do it this way. I could have been like, well, I feel like I need to go this way. And I listened to people, I made adjustments, and they were like, that's it. Stick with that. Build the files. So like I said, the negative criticism was still helpful to improve the quality of the product. And a lot of our music today has no critical element. We accept everything as great. Yes. We accept everything as quality. We accept everything as usable. And a lot of this stuff is not usable. So we got a whole bunch of music that, I was talking to Darwin Hobbs. I'm actually just did Darwin Hobbs. Darwin Hobbs. I wrote a song for Darwin Hobbs. It's getting ready to come out. It's really, really good. It's called "I Will Say Yes."
Okay.
And me and Darwin was talking. The name of his project is going to be called what is it called? He said the Sunday morning playlist.
Okay.
Because as ministers of music or directors of worship, we are constantly looking for things that minister to our congregations.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that's out here just doesn't cut it. It's 7 words repeated 11 times.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dr. Judah Christie McAllister says, 7-11 songs.
Yes.
There are no verses, there are no choruses, there are no meaningful thought processes. It's just, they get a line, get something that feel good, throw some music on it, and that's the tune.
Yeah.
So I value criticism, and I think it was one of the things that, if anything that helped me to be successful, it was really just some hard criticism. Yes. Because, like I said, I could tell you, I was in rehearsals where I was told not to play. You don't listen. You're not gonna be this. You're not gonna be that. You're not gonna be here. And
wow.
And I had to say, okay, well, I hear what you're saying. I got you. Let me keep working on this and let me get it right.
Yeah.
And spend a lot of time perfecting, or working on. Now I shouldn't say perfecting, but working on what I was doing to the point where, like I said, it became, acceptable in my circle of real critical people. I was in the circle of real critical. Like I said, people that have recorded records, older people. I was a very young guy in a church that ran by people that were 20, 30 years my senior.
Yeah.
So if they liked your music, you was really doing something. Because I came from a church where if you got up and did something that wasn't right, my bishop would get that microphone and sing on top of you. All right, and tell you to sit down. And that's the church I came.
And you know what? Let me.
Criticism. You got to open yourself up to criticism.
And I wanted to touch on that because nowadays, and I'll just speak from with myself coming up, we had people that were seasoned, and they would, almost like yourself, say that's not quite it. And it wasn't a thing of them tearing you down, but they were just letting you know for the level that you're trying to reach, you're not there yet. And for myself, that kept me hungry. When I left those Friday night services and I didn't quite follow the soloist right, or I messed up playing behind the choir, after I got finished crying in the car, and my mama encouraging me, she said, now work and get it right. So I would always make it a thing wherein you may have told me it wasn't right, then, but you won't tell me that again. And it drove a hunger and a passion in me, to not just prove them wrong, but to also get my gift to the point wherein it could be received. And so many young musicians, they're not in a place to hear, proper mentorship. They're not in a place wherein you can bring critique. There's a difference from critique and being judged. A lot of times judgment does not.
Well, I think that, not to cut you off, I think though too, there is a, we can get into the semantics of how somebody can trying to get you to go in a particular, I'll just say we can get into the semantics of it. Like, I think coming along, some people just said some real bad, harsh things to me.
Absolutely.
And it's stuff that I would never say to somebody else, but I look back on it and say, well, there was a lesson in that, even in that, all things work together. So there's a lesson even when it's something really, really good that somebody says to you, or something really, really crazy. I'll just tell a quick story. When I first started out playing at Bobway, there was a deacon there, Deacon George Payne. We talk about him all the time. Deacon George Payne. Every time I got up onto the piano in the main sanctuary, it was a beautiful black Baldwin 8-foot grand piano in the sanctuary back then. You know, it wasn't too long purchase. And every time I got up there, he would pull the cover down almost upon my fingers.
Wow.
And he would say, "You know you're not supposed to be playing that piano, Brother Frasier. You know Bishop don't want you playing that piano." This when I was just coming along. I hadn't started playing really, officially yet.
Yeah.
And this went on for a while. I could not play the piano. And it's like, no, I listened. They were animate. Bam, close that piano top down.
Yeah.
One day I asked, well, I'm really learning how to play, and when can I play? So Deacon Payne said to me, and I'll never forget the conversation. He said, "Look, you want to play? Come on Thursday night to the missionary service.
Mm-hmm.
You can play the piano then." But the trick was the missionary service wasn't upstairs. It was downstairs. And the piano downstairs had been water damaged.
Mm-hmm.
So it went like the piano board kind of was warped a little bit.
Wow.
And some of the keys were broken. And sometimes I would play on the piano on Thursday night until my fingers bled.
Wow.
Because the keys were cut sharp. It was an old Steinway, but it was broke down. Water damage, things over the year. But I still would play on Thursday night. Yeah. And what it did was it really developed a dexterity to my playing, to my piano playing.
Okay.
Whereas when I touched the keyboard, what I played, it was real definitive. It wasn't really light. Back in them days, it wasn't too many synthesizers with half weight, quarter weight keys. Yeah. These are full weight key, and you had to play with some strength.
Yes.
To kind of get through church services and carry church services, stuff like that. So although that was a kind of a harsh experience, the blessing from it was that it really made my fingertips and my fingers really, really, really strong.
Yes.
So when I left the piano and went to the organ, I had to almost change my whole style because the organ keys are no weight, they're like, totally lighter. So, that was another adjustment too. Mm-hmm. But because I always kept the piano adjustment, even now, if I play, the way I play piano is a lot different from a lot of way people play piano now, because of those early days of playing. So,
yes.
It may seem like it's bad, in the beginning, but you got to kind of hold on because you never know what's coming down the pike. So.
And you know what? And like you said, a lot of what you experienced, whether it was presented in a good way or not, like you said, all things work together. All of those experiences help shape the Levite and the songwriter that you are today. So it all had its place. We have another question for you, David. Have you ever had anyone attempt to quote unquote borrow any of your songs without permission?
Well, thank you for the politically correct question. You really mean steal. That's what you mean. You mean use without permission. That's stealing.
Thievery.
Often, very often. So what I'd say to people that are writing music, that's just a part of the nature of what happens. People use your songs sometimes and don't give you credit for it for a lot of reasons. It could be because they didn't know you wrote it. They heard somebody else do it. When they asked the other person, they thought the other person did it, and different things like that. And you have people using music that have attempted to get permission but never got written permission.
Okay.
You have people that will use portions of your songs and their songs and not give you credit. So there's a lot of different scenarios in there, but basically I tell all writers that if you're going to be in the music business and be in the music industry, that's just one of the little hazards of the industry that sometimes you even said it before, like, we were talking earlier. Oh, so many people don't know that you wrote it. So many people didn't know you wrote this. So many people, but let me just say, all of the songs you thought that other people didn't know I wrote, there's somebody that really knows. And when you got to have somebody that knows. So I definitely say to writers, listen, don't get discouraged by that. Protect yourself. Copyright. You can copyright up to 10 songs for $35 for the Library of Congress. You can do poor man copyrights, record your stuff, store it on drives and stuff like that. As you're placing music on larger platforms, it may be good to check out a copyright attorney or a good music attorney. I have 2 great attorneys in my camp. I'm also assigned a writer to a agency called the Mezzo Agency that handles licensing for me. I recently went through a situation where I Need You to Survive was being performed for years and years and years, and the people that was performing it didn't know that they didn't have a license to do it.
Wow.
So, of course, through conversations with ASCAP and with the Mezzo Agency and with my copyright attorney, with my personal attorney, they have to kind of walk through what the next steps on how to get your money and how to, get contracts and get licenses out and stuff like that. But it happens all the time. I had a song in the Netflix series called 7 Seconds, which is still out right now. And Netflix just didn't know.
Wow.
Just did. They saw what the credits read, but they just didn't know who to contact. And they figure they'll contact us at some point. Whoever is supposed to get with it, they'll contact, and we're good. So again, I think I don't think songwriters should worry so much about exploitation that is not by permission so much. I don't think that should be their worry. I think the worry should be people love your stuff so much that they want to do it.
Wow. Okay.
Make that kind of music that everybody wants to do it, and then you can always get your money in at some point. You can always get the credit at some point, but work on making the quality music that people want to use first. And then, like the business side, you can go on a couple of Zoom interviews like these. You can go on a couple of you go to a couple of seminars and stuff. You can hire an attorney to kind of take care of the business of it. But most of the time, most of the majors, they will not limit themselves to just what the artist will necessarily say or not say regarding whether did you write the song, or I don't know who wrote the song, or do you know who wrote, that these kind of conversations, they do happen. Yes. But I don't want people to worry so much about that, because once you get into protecting, you're not writing or creating. You're spending more time protecting yourself. And if you spend more time protecting yourself than you do creating, you end up protecting nothing.
Wow.
Because nobody knows what you have, and nobody knows what you're doing.
Wow.
So,
and again, I think, something that you said is very impactful. Focus on, if you're a songwriter, making something as far as the song being your product, make a product so good that people want to emulate. They want to, okay, you know what? I got to have a piece of that. Out of all of the songs I've heard, it's something about that catch my ear, and I want to be somewhat connected to it, because everybody don't know the formula. There's a whole lot of people that grab a pen, but like you said, it's some stuff where, it's really no verse, there's no bridge. It's just kind of somewhat of a hook, something that's called a drive, and a melody, and people are calling that, songs or hits. And, to a lot of the songwriters that over the years have been very established, even though they may have a different sound, there's still a universal recipe. you know, a couple of weeks ago before Bishop Hez and Pastor John P. Key had their thing on social media, you had the Babyface and Teddy Rock. And the one thing that was so impactful, both of them over the years have written so many, great songs where it was bringing back to people's remembrance. Wow, I didn't know Teddy wrote this. Wow, Babyface wrote that. And you see the formula which allowed them to have the longevity that they've had.
Yeah, the battle, quote unquote battle of Teddy Riley, Babyface, and even Bishop Hez and John P. Key, Pastor John P. Key, Bishop Hez. They're not really battles. They just use the term battle because for some reason, and you know, it's sad to say that we're in a culture that the only thing that people are attracted to is a fight, not to a celebration.
Yes.
They're attracted to anything that seems combative, anything that seems negative, or people going to be throwing shots or something. That's what we're attracted to. So neither one of them was a battle per se, but it was definitely a way to highlight all of the participants' achievements over the years. I listened to the Teddy. I didn't even know Teddy Riley had did the show for Dougie Fresh. I didn't, you know, that's Teddy Riley. You know, didn't know that. But again, you know, I learned something. You know, during that time, I'm real familiar with Babyface's catalog. He didn't touch on, you know, half of the stuff that you know that are huge hits. You know, for Madonna, Take a Bow, for Eric Clapton, Tears in Heaven, these kind of things. You know. But Teddy was the, like I heard this is a comment that I heard about the whole thing. Babyface is what you play during the wedding ceremony. Teddy Riley is what you play at the reception.
Yes.
And it's true. Because you don't want to dance to Babyface. He had a couple of little dance tracks, but you know, it don't nothing beat I Wanna and some of them joints that Teddy got, Bobby Brown. You know, he got the joints. Teddy got them. So you know, Babyface for the wedding ceremony, Teddy for the reception. But I mean, and Teddy still has stuff like Before I Let You Go with Blackstreet and Let's Chill and some nice stuff, you know. But again, you know, and I think somewhat similar with with Pastor John P. Key and the Bishop Hez Bishop Walker thing. I think Pastor John P. Key New Life, Pastor John P. Key VIP, Pastor John P. Key Now. He has a certain sound that reaches a certain audience base.
Yes.
And I think what Bishop Walker did was he had a sound that reached a certain audience base, but then he expanded it to people that weren't connected to, like songs like I Need You to Survive, Every Praise, You're All I Need, some of the other joints that he came out with the latter part, expanded his audience. Grateful, God Favored Me, expanded the audience past the audience that he just had of church or of gospel lovers.
Absolutely.
So he expanded it that much farther. So, you know, that's the difference between a record selling 120,000 and a record selling 500,000.
Yes. And not and not to cut you off, but not just that, like you said, with Bishop Hez expanding, I remember the first time I heard Let's Dance. And you know, with BBJ on that, and I remember
and he played the BBJ version on the battle, which I was surprised.
Yes,
I thought he would have played the J Moss mix, J Moss version. But and BBJ, to show you this, BBJ was from our church. He grew up in Bible Way. His sisters, a twin, Sheila and Cheryl, the mama. We all knew each other. Yeah. So when BBJ was like, you know, he came out being a rapper, Bishop Hez was like, this is phenomenal. You know, we got to do this. We got to do a record with this guy. You know, and it, you know, it actually the record got pulled because of some contractual issues
Okay.
With BBJ. And so they pulled him out and they put the J Moss. The J Moss version is the one you mostly hear on the radio.
Yeah.
But the BBJ version, there was a video against that. So
Yeah.
it was kind of hard. It got out and they couldn't really pull it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a amazing record. Amazing record.
Yeah.
And it felt good. Dave Hollister,
Absolutely.
you know, listen, and a lot of people don't know who Dave Hollister, didn't really know who Dave Hollister was from a gospel perspective, but Dave Hollister was one of the original background singers for Vanessa Bell Armstrong for years.
Yes.
For years. So the early stuff with Vanessa, Dave Hollister was singing background for her.
Yes.
With her.
Yes.
So he's got a background at church. BBJ had a background at church because I know he grew up apostolic right in my church. Yeah. So he had a background. And then the message, you know, it was, at that time it was like real unique. That was actually the Family Affair one record. Yes. Let's Dance was the family, because I did Power Belongs to God on that record. So that was a nice little way to give variety to a record. And then on the Family Affair 2 record, Tone / B Slade had did I think that was On Time God. I think that's his song on there. So again, you know, Bishop Hez was kind of always open to expanding the audience. And I think John was, as what John is and is trying to, but Bishop Hez was more successful in expanding the audience.
And like you said, people, over the years, they know the songs like, Jesus is the Light, I'll Make It, like you said, Only Trust Him, all those songs. But then when you heard records like Let's Dance, it gave a different perspective, because I remember there was, friends of mine that per se didn't go to church. They knew I did, but when that came out, they would say, "Hey, play the dance song, by the preacher." And they didn't, properly know his name or whatever, but they just knew the dance song by the preacher. And that captivated the ears of a lot of people who necessarily didn't have a church background, but the music ministered to them, and it reached them. So like you said, it really expanded outside of the four walls of just church or a denomination.
And that's important. If your plan is to, even as a songwriter, and I know there's some songwriters that are on the live, expanding the audience, you got to say different things if you want to reach different people, and you got to find a way to tell your story in a way that it attracts people from other cultures. I had the opportunity to go overseas in 2017 to Sweden and Germany, and just to hear them sing some of the songs that I wrote, just, including I Need to Survive, some of the stuff off my Psalms, Hymns records and stuff. You can create a platform for yourself if you aim to say things that people are not always commonly saying. It's the terminology is obscure subject matter. The more obscure your subject matter is, the more it will grip the hearer. Before Power Belongs to God, there was not a song called Power Belongs to God. Before Second Chance, people would say second chance, I'll give you a second chance. If you do what I want you to do, I'll give you another chance. I'll give you a second chance. But nobody had a gospel song like that. I Need to Survive. Nobody had a gospel song that said that had that kind of subject matter. So the more obscure your subject matter is, the more song life you have, or song longevity. We talked about the battles, the Babyface and the Teddies. There's only one Less Chill. There's only one My.
Yes.
There's only one.
Yes.
But the more obscure the subject matter is, the more it creates a category for yourself. You blaze a trail of path. You trailblaze a path. You don't just walk the path that others have walked. You now have a path that people can walk on. So.
And for all of you that's chiming in, Just now, listen, this is, the man, the Levite, the songwriter extraordinaire who has music that's global, international. He's been blessing our lives for many, many years. Mr. David Frasier, just giving us a wealth of knowledge, some priceless information. If you have questions, send the questions. We're going to ask him. Listen, he's here. So you don't have to feel like you're stuck wherever you are, whether it's songwriting, composing. We had a question earlier about publishing or, folks borrowing music, anything like that. Please ask your questions, send them in because he's here to go ahead and give you the wealth of knowledge and experience that he has. David, you talked about going overseas. Just tell the people basically the difference from how gospel music is viewed or appreciated here in the United States versus overseas, somewhere like a Sweden.
Well, I had the opportunity, like I said, 2017. I was going to go back again just last month for Donald Lawrence's his international arts, music and arts seminar. He was going to be hosting the Edwin Hawkins seminar in Copenhagen, Denmark. But all overseas, there are community choirs. There are, it's kind of hard to explain, but they have a gospel music network overseas that is like so filled with people that just come to rehearsals every week, learn songs, give concerts every 3-4 months for communities. I'm not totally sure if all of the people have accepted Christ. I'm not totally sure of that.
Okay.
But I am totally sure that they love gospel music. Everywhere that I went in Sweden, I had at least 1,000 people or more in every workshop choir.
Wow.
I did 4 cities in Sweden. Stockholm had 1,300, almost 1,400 singers.
Wow.
Javle had about 1,000. Gothenburg had about 1,000. The Netherlands had about 1,000. Germany, Cologne, Mainz, by Kreuznach, all these great places that I went to in these countries. Hundreds and hundreds of people come out, and all they want to do is sing gospel music.
Wow.
And it's really, really amazing. So for Donald, he was going to take, well, we all know that when Hawkins passed away not long ago, Walter Hawkins passed away. So Donald Lawrence has taken over the helm of the Edwin Hawkins or the Hawkins Music and Arts Workshop.
Okay.
And because of Donald's experiences overseas, he felt like it would really be a shot in the arm to do a conference that catered to those people. Because not only are they going to register at any amount, they're going to show up in numbers, because all of the songs that they sing over there, the people were going to be over that close.
Yeah.
I was going to be a part of it. Anthony Brown, a couple of choir guys that have written his name just hit me. Another guy, Derek Starks, out of Detroit. But a lot of people are going to be involved with that because the overseas community is so open to what gospel music is happening. So if I went there, I just kind of continue to build my brand over there. And then eventually, if he has a conference in the States, they'll plan to come over to the state, and they come over all the time in little groups, 10s and 20 and 30. And all they do is come to churches and they just want to listen.
Yeah.
And learn.
I had a very close friend of mine who took some time, and for about 8 years, he migrated and went over to Germany. And over there, it was just an eye opener because music here that we label the oldies, you know, they were still rocking to "Oh Happy Day," Calvin Harris. People love that song, or Andre Crouch. They were still excited, when it comes to gospel music, and they didn't categorize it as, okay, this is old, this it was just to them gospel music. And he had, a
Yes. Oh Happy Day is still Oh
yes,
Happy Day right now today is still. There's no place you can't go overseas if you do any concerts or tours. They want to hear some "Oh Happy Day,"
yes,
especially if you're doing like secular venues and stuff like that. So
yes. And that was the difference that a lot of people that I've known that have toured overseas, France, Spain, Germany, even in Asia, wherein what we sometimes take for granted, with our legends, with our pioneers, overseas, they're still head over heels, excited about it.
yeah, it's just very interesting. Um, like I said, that was something that I learned. It was amazing when I went overseas. They just really just wanted to do songs that I wrote. They wanted to sing "How Much We Can Bear." They wanted to sing a song off of the 2085 album, "You Can Know, Do You Know Jesus." They wanted to sing, definitely want to sing "I Need You to Survive," and a couple of others. And they were just like, "We just want you to come and just do your music." And it was really really incredible experience. I hope to get to go back, if not by the end of this year, definitely 2021.
Well, that's amazing. That's amazing that you know yourself and Mr. Donald Lawrence and so many others can not just have an impact here in the States, but they can have an impact overseas and really bridge the gap. You know,
So it's a whole nother market. It's a whole nother dynamic, and it's really amazing experience too to see how hungry they are for me gospel music. It's really really incredible.
Okay. So listen, everybody, this is Mr. David Frazier. Again, Dave, let people know how to get in contact with you. If they have questions, concerning music, or they may want some production done, some songwriting done. You may have some singers, some musicians out there. Please let the people know how to get in contact with you.
Well, I'm on social media, David Frazier and David Frazier, two capital I's, on Facebook, Dave on Twitter, and David Frazier 1 on Instagram. My website is davidfrazier.net. I have a David Frazier music page on Facebook as well too. Just recently, I did a couple of playlists for Apple Music, for Spotify. You can search them out, listen to some of the music that I've written. Email address is daveslyric@me.com. And I try to answer most of my emails. I have a couple of CDs out that's available. You can just search me on Google Play, on Apple Music, on Spotify. We got new music coming down the pike, and just praying that it will all flow. And that's it. That's how we got here. So that's what we're trying to do.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have his music, you need to go and download it. It will bless you. Again, Mr. David Frazier, we thank you for your time. We thank you for just pouring, out just a wealth of knowledge, just information, just a good, wholesome conversation where folks can, have a better understanding and just have something to grasp to as far as the standard of the foundation is something to reach towards. We thank God for you. We pray that God will continue to bless you in your endeavors and what you do. We're looking forward to the new music. We want to hear the song that you did when Darwin drops his project, and anything that's coming out soon. We get ready and looking forward to supporting anything that you do. So thank you so much, my brother.
Appreciate that, and thank you for the platform today. It's been a joy, and let's do it again sometime.
Hey, we're going to do it again, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. David Frasier, reach out to him, get his music, support him, and you'll be hearing from us soon again. Total Balance Life Ministries. God bless you.
All right, now.